very similar principles. Um, I think there's an evolving answer to that. I think you need to see where culture is, where trends are going. I think you need to stay on the pulse to understand what it is that people are attracted to. Um, there are the things that always work, like nostalgia is always a big thing in attracting people. There's always a new way to create hype. I think you just have to kind of understand the consumer. Unfortunately, I think a lot of marketers age out of their years of effectiveness just by the nature of getting older and not understanding the younger generation. Like, I don't have TikTok. I don't want to download TikTok, and I feel old saying that.
You and me both.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird, and I hope that I continue to be an effective marketer, but I don't know that there's really an answer to that question. I think sometimes you have to survey the room to see if an idea really hits. I think generally people's gut reaction to things can be good, but marketing is a very experimental thing for that very nature. There really isn't an answer to that question.
Right. So
So you
then,
have to experiment.
so then, some of your, some of your work with, I believe, Coffee Lab, you mentioned was what I would call, there's experimental, and then there's some things like that you got, which I think is like really out there. For example, AR and VR type marketing. So how did you say, we got to experiment, and then say, okay, let's go all the way to VR? How did the process, and how did you then say, well, we're going to risk it in something, this new, and then and then properly plan it in a way which would engage, which would get other people excited.
Yeah. You know, as far as my clients went at Coffee Labs, sometimes they would come to us and know exactly what they were looking for,
Mm.
which is an easy sell. Going into the side of taking a risk and being experimental, as I'm sure you can imagine, it is very hard to get people to be willing to take a risk. Things do fall flat all the time. I've worked on things that have fallen flat. I think most people have. We
Can you
don't always
describe
talk about it, but
can you describe
things,
an instance maybe?
um, I don't want to say
Yeah.
because it was a project for a client that I just didn't think really, hit the nail on the head
Hmm.
the way we quite wanted it to.
Hmm.
Um, I can't really get into it too much. I was under NDAs for that project as
Yeah.
well, but it's happened on more than one occasion. I've worked on a lot of things. Not everything will turn up the way you want to. But I think there is a reward for taking risks when brands want to experiment with new and emerging technologies, because ultimately you are going for that younger audience. You are always going for that next generation of consumer. It doesn't matter what category your brand is. You have to always be experimenting. You have to always be changing your approach. Things are changing at an exponential pace across all businesses, not just marketing, just their operations. It's all kind of blending together. It all comes down to what technology you're using, how quickly, how effectively can you reach people. And that's a game that is being played every day. So again, some clients would come to us like American Express, and they knew they wanted to do an augmented reality experience. We help them shape what that is, and then we execute it. Then you would have other brands that come and they say, hey, look, we have this new product that we're launching. We want to do something really cool. What are some cool technologies that we can work with to really help promote this campaign or this product or this anniversary, whatever it may be? So what you do is you have conversations with them. You learn about what their goals are. You learn about who they're trying to reach and what is it that they're trying to get. Are they trying to get emails? Are they trying to just create content? Their goals runs the gamut, but you have to build an experience backing into how they're going to achieve their goal. And the way you sell them on it, in terms of selling them on the idea of taking a risk, is that you show them that there is a plan to this. There's a plan to promote this experience. This experience is designed to kind of pull people a little bit deeper into the funnel and educate people on your branding campaign. Sometimes research backs it up. You always have to make a case, but at the same time, If you're doing something for the first time and there's nothing to back it up, they just have to trust you to take the ball and run with it. Sometimes that's just by them seeing your past work and successes. But at the end of the day, there are no guarantees. A media campaign can fail. So, there's a little bit of risk in everything, but certainly the brands that do come to agencies like Coffee Labs and say, hey, we want to do something a little bit different. We want to do something we've never done before. Those are your best clients because they're in the weeds with you. They don't question your every move. They are on your team. They are by your side. And that is where you always tend to see the best results because they are partners and collaborators, not just clients. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that did. But can you walk me through maybe a example like of one of the projects you might have worked with where of the process of maybe what they came to you with, what you guys then researched and tried to figure out how you were going to implement, or what part of the creative process you guys changed or added? I'd love to know just practically, like what you're saying is very good conceptually, but like then you say, okay, so like someone comes to me with this crazy idea. So like, how do I know, like, is that going to hit or not? Like, I wouldn't even know how to test some of these ideas.
I mean, and again, ultimately it goes back down to you have to have a conversation with the client, understand their needs, and present what you think are different technologies that might help them achieve their goals.
Mhm.
Sometimes, honestly, it's a very difficult answer.
Mhm.
And in the same way that I said to you before, sometimes they come to you with an idea.
Mhm.
Sometimes those ideas they bring to you are misguided. And you have to decide, do I just take the money and produce this for them? Or do I kind of steer them in a different direction? You risk losing the business when you do that. Sometimes it's a brand director that's coming to you with an idea from their creative agency that they have already sold through. They're ready to do it. They just need someone to produce it. But, you really have to figure out how to steer that ship. Do you want to go with a platform that's proven? Augmented reality is fairly prominent right now. I wouldn't even consider that necessarily taking a risk. I think all brands should be incorporating some form of augmented reality experience, either within their marketing or within their e-com experience. So I think that AR is a proven at this point, worthwhile form of investment that, companies should look at.
So they
But
could,
to do something completely new, again, you have to make the case for it. We think this would work because, and they might disagree, and you might have to bite the bullet and say, hey, maybe we'll do something that we don't think is our number one choice, but at least we could find a common ground. No one knows at the end of the day, but you have to use your logic and see what makes sense. So if it's a virtual reality experience, are you looking for people, like, is it a product education experience? It really depends. It's a very important dialogue to have, and everyone, the more open minded everyone is, and the more on the pulse people are with what the latest technology is, that tends to make for a more productive brainstorm session.
so one